So this week we spoke about events. So Michael's just got back from an event. I had one recently, and I'm also going to SalesCon in Nashville end of next month. Going to be doing a session there. So we went through our experiences on why we go to events, what we get from them, and I suppose what you could expect as well.
Yeah, yeah. Look, we've both had a fair bit of experience with events, and ultimately, it can be for some people a lonely existence we have. You know, sitting in rooms on your own on the computer all day. Maybe you're in a country that doesn't have a lot of other, or an area that doesn't have a lot of other people doing what we're doing. So it's a chance to, recalibrate as a human being with connection again with people that do what you do and understand your world. It's a chance to go into rooms where you're the least smart or the least knowledgeable on a subject as well and just absorb and learn with total humility. Maybe you can go somewhere with peers and around like-minded people at your level, and you guys support each other and open doors for each other and push each other. There's so many different ways you can look at it, but we're both huge fans of the right events, but importantly, you've got to go with the right part from your end too. The right energy, the right expectations, be somebody that others want to interact with, bring a humility to it, be open to meeting amazing people and not knowing where the conversation goes, and just trusting that there's a high chance more often than not probably goes to a good place. That certainly served me, and we shared that with the viewers today.
Exactly. We share a couple of examples and things we took from it, but we'll leave you to it and hopefully you enjoy. What are the learnings that you take away, or what is the greatest advantage perhaps of going to an event?
Well, that's a big, big question. See, there's so many different types of events and there's so many reasons why you might go. I just got back, as you know, from a week in Los Angeles at an event that I've been to now for four times in a row over the last 4 years. With my clients, and that's an event, as you know, full of incredibly high-level people and pretty famous presenters. I got to meet quite a few of them this year. What do I get out of that? Inspiration, ideas, a sense of what's possible, a sense of where I'm at, a sense of where there's space for me to get better, maybe confirmation that I'm pretty good in some areas, and certainly an awareness that there's other areas that I know nothing about or need to get a lot better at. So it's like a giant temperature check in some ways, and a giant dose of inspiration and idea generation and connection, because I meet a lot of great people, and some of those conversations go beyond surface level. Nice to see you, which more than normal did this year. I won't share the details yet because it's too early to talk about, but two conversations in particular with two different people, have really, really high potential of being something amazing, whether that's them becoming new clients of mine. We're actually talking about a joint venture with one of the guys, both guys. I don't know. We're in conversations. That doesn't happen if I don't go to an event. And me being able to have those conversations doesn't go if I don't bring a certain version of myself to the event and don't build up a brand leading up to it as well. One of the guys I've known 2 years, the other guy I just met there, but we hit it off. So that's the event. I've been to a version of that event like 6 times now in the last 4 years. 4 times that event itself, another time an adjacent style event within the portfolio of events that I sell. And the 6th time, and this is a good segue to you, is we went to Nashville last year to a strategic coach event, which is another great organization. 𝗖ście, the account I still sell for, was one of the sponsors there. That's where I met Chris Voss. For anyone that saw the Chris Voss photo a year ago, and meet Dean and
That
I.
was a year ago.
In May a year ago, and Dean Carosa and I had coffee. So this is going to be a nice segue into you going to Nashville shortly. That was a different event. We went to represent a company and start relationships, as opposed to people coming to our event and I had sold them in. So very different dynamic. But both times, the beauty of the world I'm in is I'm eternally walking into rooms where I'm the least, I'm not going to say the dumbest, but let's just say maybe the least smart, or the least accomplished, or the least high status, or the least wealthy. So you can look at that one or two ways. It can tap into insecurities if you choose to let it to, or you can view it as tremendous upside, like, wow, look at all these people I can learn from. Wow, look at all these people further ahead than I am. Wow, look at all these conversations I can have, and I'm sure I'll get some ideas in the back of this. Wow, look at all these people that may be able to help me, or I might be able to help them, because whilst overall they're ahead of me, there are certain areas I'm ahead of them, and who knows where this conversation might go. So I love that sense of possibility and wonder, and just going really open and curious and collaborative, and magic happens more often than not. That's why I love events. I go at it from that angle, and I look for events that are going to be like that. It's been a long time since I've gone to events, a long time. I'm not even sure when it last was, where it's been more peer level, people at my level or even below me. I'm more elevated. I've pretty much always gone in as the lower, which I like. What about you? You've got a big event in Nashville, which you just got confirmed as attending, and Dean Carrozza is part of that event, and I just mentioned him a minute ago. What about you? How do you think about events? I know you did a Byron Bay event recently, and you're about to go to this one. How do you think about events, and where do you see the value or things of interest in it?
I think the biggest value is it just pushes you out of your lane for a short period of time. And I don't think after the event, as long as it's a good one, I don't think you hop back in that same lane, because even doing anything remote, like we both do at the moment, we kind of get stuck in this path of that's where we want to go. We're still open to opportunities. We still explore it, but that's where we're going, and we're really focused. We're working on it. And then when you go to an event, you're forced out of being at home. You're forced out of being in your office. You're forced out of working for a few days on whatever you're working on. And then you get exposed to all of these other people doing really other cool, like a lot of other cool things. And I think one of two things happens. I'm yet to go to an event where I was disappointed with everyone, or even the majority share. Most of the time you'll see someone and you think, oh, they're doing this. And then they walk you through what they're actually doing, and you think, that's really cool. I didn't know that they were doing this. I didn't know that you could do this. Where could what I do apply to that, or where could what they do apply to me? But the way I look at events is I just want bites. I want little lines that I can take away with it. And then the one in Byron, for example, there were three, four. No, so there was four. So Pat had a really good line about chasing cash versus chasing wealth, and the impact that it makes.
What's the distinction for those that haven't heard that answer? I'm sure they find it interesting. What's the distinction?
So chasing cash is essentially trying to do something that gets cash in the bank, such as getting commissions. So you can work, and increase your commissions. That's getting cash. But that cash doesn't turn into wealth unless you do something with it, as in invest it, help it grow on itself, and then let that compound over time, or you invest it in a business. Or building wealth is, instead of just taking commission, maybe you take an equity share in that company. So you're earning the money, and you're also earning a percentage in that business that is worth something, so that even if you do decide to stop selling, you have generated a level of wealth that's there. And that's not
it's not an exact comparison, but it sounds a little bit like instant gratification versus delayed gratification. It's not a perfect comparison, but it sounds somewhat similar to that.
Well, it aligned perfectly with a lot of the books that I was reading about investments and money and all of that sort of stuff. And it ticked all of the boxes. Young guys in our 20s, we think that we can beat the market, we can beat the odds, we can beat the statistics, we can be that outlier. And then you realize that what was the statistics? Like 97, 98% of people never beat the market. No, I think it was 99% or something like that. And how to invest over time. So that was number one. And that made me realize I spent a lot of time. I'm great at developing wealth, but I realized most of my focus was on cash, which has dramatically changed since. Brooke had she had a really, really good line, and it was about going all in and kind of tiptoeing around the outside of something for a good period of time.
This Brooke that's in Bali runs the ladies offer?
Correct. She sells.
Yep.
And again, on the back of her session, she's doing some really, really cool stuff. All of the people at She Sells are looking at that and thinking, well, I'm kind of not half-assing, but you know what I mean? Spreading myself across a lot of things. How do I choose what I put all of the effort in? And again, that has changed since then. Orlando had a really funny one. He was talking about social media and hooks on a video. And he was talking about how in some of his reels, there is like a pretty blonde girl that stops the scroll. And he said his Instagram coach said, yeah, you use that because you don't have a visual hook. Basically means like you're not that attractive and people aren't going to stop when they see you. And then there was, Bring It Home was Laura Bruce. I hope I pronounced her surname correctly. She was talking about confidence versus courage. And she struggled for a long time with confidence. But she realized that you don't have to be confident all the time. You just have to be courageous in moments. when it's required, and you
Mm-hmm.
will do the things that a confident person would. And then in turn, by doing those courageous things, you prove to yourself that you
Mm-hmm.
can do it,
Mm-hmm.
which then backdoors into confidence on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
even
mate.
little things like since then, I don't get stage fright making calls, but I made a big call a couple of weeks ago, and then that ticked over. I had a little hesitation, and it said, just be courageous in this moment, because as soon as they answer,
Yep.
you're golden.
Yep. Yep.
So it's
Yep.
just little
Yep.
bites like that, getting exposed to people and having conversations at levels that you normally wouldn't.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're about to go to an event in Nashville in a month or so, give or take. Like, how do you think about that event? Like, what draws you to an event like that? Is it the same as what you just said then, or an event like that is a different draw card? Like, how do you think about that?
The primary reason I was going to start with was there's a lot of people that I wanted to meet in person, and I heard
Mm-hmm.
nothing but good things about SalesCon last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I would go. So
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely going to honor that, and I was looking forward to it. But then I had a chat to Dean, had a chat to Will, and Ryan Powles was speaking as well. And I was walking him through a heap of AI stuff that I've been working on and doing. And he just said, like, this is the hot girl at the bar at the moment. He knows that not he knows. He said that what you're presenting on will be a lot more exciting than what I am. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, if they're happy with it, I'll give you my spot. And
Mm-hmm.
Dean and Will graciously, will say, said, yep, so I'm going to hop up there and I'm going to do a presentation on AI in sales, and I'm going to show a heap of stuff that I haven't really shown anyone, all the stuff that I've been working on lately. So the way I see that event is, one, proximity, get around a lot of people, be exposed to people that I wouldn't normally cross paths with in the remote world. But
Mm-hmm.
two, I mean, I'm in Australia, that's in Nashville in the US. I'm going to remove myself from my environment and be
Mm-hmm.
exposed to a whole lot of different influences, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
for a week and a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I always know that when I come back from these events, all of my perspectives have shifted. I never
Mm-hmm.
fall back into that one lane. And it might
Mm-hmm.
be on a similar path, but it's just like, I've jumped forward 10 paces and I'm on a slightly different trajectory than I was beforehand.
Yep.
But I don't
Yep.
know what that's going to be, but I know it's going to be there.
Yep. 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 Cool. Cool. Are there any other events you have sort of on the horizon?
No, not at this stage. Not at this stage, no. But there are not
Okay.
that many events that I see that I
Yep.
think, yeah, that's going to be the one.
Yep. 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 Have you been to any events outside of our remote sales space at all?
Not in a long time.
Hmm.
But
And
again, I
would you
haven't
go?
seen, would I go 100%?
Yeah, would you go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But it's just
Yeah.
what's going to be there.
The other event I went to, actually, I didn't mention this. I mentioned I've been to 6 events with A360 in the last 4 years. But the other event that I didn't mention is I went to James Kemp, who's one of the mentors that I work with. I went to his mastermind event in Bali last year, which was unreal. And that's where I did breathwork for the first time. And I know you had a breathwork experience relatively recently. Actually, I did a small breathwork session with our friend Christopher in Victoria.
He's actually
That
the
was,
one that took me through that in Byron.
yeah, I thought he might have. Yeah, he's great at it.
Yeah.
He actually introduced me to magic coffees as well on that same day. So it was quite
Same thing, me as well. He
quite a cool
convinced me to
day.
have a go at the magic.
Yeah, yeah. He got me. I'm a magic drinker now. So we had a little insight into breathwork with him, which was great. But it was, I think, it was surface level, 15 minutes, nothing too crazy. But going to Bali, we did like a super intense breathwork session that took me super deep on this big journey, unlocked some parts of my brain and thinking and feelings that I didn't know I was going to go there. I still feel the benefit almost a year later. That and that alone was worth the price of admission, because what I learned about myself and what I now see as a tool that I can use again when the time's right to do some discovery and repairing or further analysis. I don't even know what's in there. I just know there's lots of stuff in there. That and that alone was worth the price of admission. I would never have enrolled in that off my own accord. But that decision was made for me by James, who organised the trip. And as I said, that and that alone was worth the price of admission. I remember on the first morning of the first day, like the day started at 10 a.m. at his house on the Monday, I think. I remember writing to Karen, my wife, on WhatsApp, which was on my computer, at like 10:07, 7 minutes into the first day. And look, we got there half an hour early, had coffee with everyone and met everyone. And it was all online entrepreneurs from different industries. I think I was the only sales guy. Others were offer owners and marketers and creators and whatnot. But I remember writing to Karen at like 10:07 on the first day, 7 minutes into the official part of the show. This trip was already paid for itself. And I can't remember I'd have to go through my notes again, but James said something that was like, trip's already paid for itself. You know, I know I'm going to use that and monetize that many times over. And it was 10:07, 7 minutes into the first morning of the first day. Didn't even know the breathwork session was coming up. So I guess going with an openness, not necessarily being attached to a specific outcome, like I must get this to do that. Just being open to the fact that it's likely I'm going to meet amazing people. It's likely I'm going to have fantastic conversations. It's likely I'm going to see and feel things that I haven't before. It's likely that maybe some dots will start connecting that aren't connecting right now. And on the back of that, I'll probably, almost definitely, but I'll probably do something amazing with it. I just love tapping into that feeling because that's been my experience with every event I've gone to. And, well, I'm never disappointed. And something amazing always comes from it. So I'm a fan of events. I'm select because obviously it takes time, energy, effort, dollars away from the family. But when you pick the right events and go with the right energy, couldn't recommend it more highly.
For sure. For sure. I just like the adjustment that we see in the world. And as you said, Christopher, I met him at an event a year earlier on the Gold Coast. That was I'd spoken to him briefly on the phone before that, but very
good
very
guy, isn't he? Good energy.
Yeah, really, really good fella. And I never would have met him or been exposed to any of that. The breath work. I'm not anti that, but I never would have sat down or gone to a breathwork seminar.
Yes.
And then you kind of sit through it for the first time, and it's something. We'll say that.
Yeah. Well, the one that we did, we went really deep. Like it was 2 hours. And, you know, I think, I don't know, not that I'm a breath work expert, but the first half hour, they're kind of pattern interrupting you to put you in the subconscious. I think that was my interpretation of it. And then you go into the subconscious and then everything changes. You go on journeys when you're in there. And before we did it, it was at a fancy place, a temple. It was all set up. There was 3 or 4 guides, candles. Like it was very professional. There was like 12 or 15 in our group, and a couple of them had done it before. And a couple of them sort of said, don't be surprised if you cry during this. And, you know, I wasn't as open-minded to that as I could have been. I think I nudged the guy next to me like, cry.
Classic Australian male.
I was the guy closest to crying, 2 hours later. So with complete humility, I say this. But like they passed the microphone around at the end and we all take your time, like take as long as you need to, and share your experience, provide some commentary, say what you're appreciative of, like whatever. And I was kind of like last in the chain. And it was probably like pass it to him, speak for 20, 30 seconds, pass it to the next guy. It was kind of moving along. And then when it got to me, I took 2 minutes I wasn't crying, but I was close. I took 2 minutes to compose myself before I could start speaking. And then I started speaking and had to stop for like 15 seconds. And I remember thinking to myself, you're going to be the guy that cries. I didn't cry, but I was close. I was very, very close.
It would have been really funny if the guy next to you was like, I gave you a little nudge.
Yeah, no, it was very humbling, as I said. It was very, and see, I don't have that experience if I don't go to an event because I would never book that. And as I said earlier, that event is that insight and where I'm going to take that, where I already have taken that, you know, priceless in terms of what you get out of it. So, yeah, huge fan. And you do, as you said earlier, you come back a different person. You know, you've learned things, you've seen things, you have a chance to reorientate and sort of reset when you come back. And you should be better. You should keep getting better if you're doing it right.
I've found even if it's not an event, even if like it's coming over to see you in Guatemala, spending a bit of time there, I've noticed that every time.
Times for the viewers, you've done that 3 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
3.
Yep.
Yeah,
once pre-COVID, twice post-COVID.
Yep. Any trip that I take to get out of this area, even if I'm ridiculously busy, if I make the time, I always come back with a different perspective, a lot better off. But yeah, anyway, I think,
well, I would argue, not to make it about me or claim any glory, but I would argue if you didn't come and see me pre-COVID Guatemala, we wouldn't be on this podcast right now. And I don't suspect you'd be in remote high ticket sales either.
No.
So like,
very different.
yeah, I mean, they were all your choices, but we had some, pretty big conversations and some experiences that created this.
But
Um,
even with that, whenever I come over, it's kind of like a little mini event. We spend time together, Mateo,
mm,
Dean,
mhm,
go in and train at 𝗖𝗄𝗄𝗃 gym and,
mhm,
train with completely different people, completely different styles. You're just exposed again to a whole lot more.
mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement. They're very valuable when you pick the right ones, and importantly, you go with the right attitude and the right energy and the right openness. So that's crucial. You want to be someone people want to be around. You want to be somebody that they want to invite into their world and interact with you and share vulnerabilities, like I did before with the breath work.
Mm.
And you've had your experiences too. You just never know where those interactions will take you, and it's so often the people you would never expect that blow your mind. Like Christopher, we talked about him before. Like, we weren't even going to meet up. Next thing you know, we spent like 2 or 3 hours together. He teaches us some basic breath work. He takes us to the best coffee shop in Rosebud, introduces me to the magic, and here we are talking about him nearly a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see that coming.
Nah, Christopher sneaks up on you though, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah. So it's good. It's good. It can be a lonely world doing what we're doing. Sitting on your own in an office or a room 10, 12 hours a day. Yeah, you're interacting on Zoom and social media, but it's not the same. It's quite it recalibrates you as a human, I think, on many levels too, just to get amongst it and look people in the eye and shake their hand and hug them and just connect as people without all the technology in between you. I think
I had this conversation with someone that was in remote sales or still is. And he was actually saying, this is a couple of weeks ago, he gets quite lonely. And I never
yeah,
got that. I think because by comparison, I had it to corporate teams where I didn't like the people or the way they were run or the level of work. So for me, I don't mind being at home by myself.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I like it. But I understand a lot of people do
I
struggle with that.
I understand it too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Look, I think that's one of the reasons why it's not the same, but I think that's one of the reasons why online communities and masterminds and WhatsApp groups and things like that, work. It does ease some of the loneliness, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's healthy. Once or twice a year, try and get to an event would be my recommendation, no matter your level. You can go to events at your level, above your level. You can go to different industries. I'm in a marketing mastermind. I'm one of the few. There's a couple other sales guys, but there's only a couple of sales guys in this mastermind. I'm in there because they think different and they're in different parts of the ecosystem. And I don't have all the answers because they're talking about a subject that's not my expertise. But it serves me to become competent and aware of their area and build relationships in that area because they're the ones that share the journey with us on an account if we're going to sell for.
Mhm.
So you don't just have to. If you're a salesperson watching this, you don't just have to go to an event of other salespeople roughly at your level. You can go to a mindset event. You can go to a negotiation or persuasion event. You can go to a marketing event, an entrepreneurship event, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I think that's a
Cool.
good spot to wind this one up. This was fun. Very timely based on what we've both been to recently or are going to recently. But
Yep.
I will see you next week.
See you then.